Hello, everybody. Welcome to StraightA. Dawson here.
Gallipod shoe.
And we
Don't
are.
vape, kids. It's bad.
Any otherwise words you want to share? She.
Um, no, vaping's bad. Don't do it.
That well, as he begins to be a bad
Do as I
influence.
say, not as I do.
And welcome to NFL Week 5 Power Rankings. This week, like we kind of stated in the NFL predictions video, which you probably, if you've already watched, then you're kind of up to speed. But Trayton, he's
If
going
you
to
haven't, go watch it.
absolutely go see all of our bad takes. Maybe they were good, maybe they were bad. How much did we disagree? Who knows? Trayton, of course, didn't join us for that video, so that's a spoiler alert in that regard, and he's not going to be joining us for this video, as well as Ben. All of us it's been a weird week for all of us in terms of scheduling, in terms of just things going on, so we're looking after them. Ben had to go early. Trayton is going through some stuff, so we're going to let them kind of, handle that. But Shu and I, we're the Power Rankings guys anyway, so we're going to discuss and kind of debate our own Power Rankings. Exactly. So you know what? Me and Shu are the best duo anyway. So like, who needs the other two? And Taylor's not even here, so that's a plus side for both of us here. So
That's a big plus side for everyone involved.
so just for
Love you.
visual stuff, it's gonna be mostly a back and forth conversation based on me and Shu's power rankings. I'm gonna put mine on screen anyway, just to make sure there's something kind of look at, and that way you have some frame of reference. But otherwise, I'm gonna go and share my screen real quick. Again, it's not really as much of a reaction on this one this week as it is a
Compare and contrast.
yeah, conversation more so. So share screen, boom, power rankings, go live, put it right there. And fun fact, I will kind of be sharing periodically. I have a little list of the original power rankings and how much people have moved since week one, like the pre-week one rankings on my list and this ranking. And I'll kind of note a couple teams that I think are kind of important. But you know what, Shu? We rarely do this, but how about you just start off with your whole right side, so your bottom
Okay,
eight.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're not going to disagree on the Bears and Broncos this week. I mean, there's just they they played each other. The Broncos won. That's where they were last week for both of us. They didn't move. Um, Up from that though, I do have the Cardinals. I had them in 28 last week, so they dropped 2. So I mean, you dropped them 1, but we were even on that last week. Up from there, I have the Raiders, who you have had at 26. I actually had down at 30 last week.
Mm.
So having said, they actually bumped up 1 closer to where you have them. Then I go up to the Panthers. They dropped 1. They were at 27. Now they're at 28. You had them up already, but you also dropped them fittingly. Colts, I had at 26. Now they're at 27. So I guess still same trend. You're dropping them down. I'm dropping them down. Just different spots to start. Then I go up to the Saints, who actually dropped 3. They were at 23 last week. You dropped them 2. You had them at 22. I have them down at 26 now. And the Texans I actually bumped up 4. You bumped them only up 2, but I have them up at that 25 spot. They were at the 29 last week.
Interesting. There's a lot of takes there I actually kind of enjoy. I do enjoy that Saints take, kind of taking them down a little bit more. It seems like obviously you didn't stated their name at all, but I like the fact you have the Titans up higher. I think you already had them a little bit higher than I did last week, but beside the point. And I do enjoy the love you're showing the Texans because I'll get to my thoughts, but I do kind of like those takes you kind of have there. Just kind of quickly following on screen there, the Bears and Broncos. There you go. They're in a whole tier of their own at this point. They're just there. I think then we kind of get to the next. I think finally, I used to say it's always been the bottom 5. Now it's like the bottom 2 and then the next 5. I think finally the Tennessee Titans have escaped that tier and are now in the upper, like fighting for that third column for me. The Raiders, Panthers, Texans, Cardinals, and Colts. Obviously, the Colts, Cardinals, and Texans have proved themselves better to get out of that bottom 5 tier and into a new tier. And I think the Raiders and Panthers have proven that they're just not consistently doing well to put themselves at the end of that bad tiers again. So we'll see how the next week kind of unfolds for their own 5-ish rankings there. But those kind of 5 teams are in their own little echelon for me. I'm still giving the Colts the bottom tier there just because they're not consistent. They're explosive, but they're not consistent. Cardinals are actually showing really good strength against some good teams. Texans are showing out a little bit more, but I only want to give them a little credit to build up for me. The Panthers, I feel like I should be punishing more for being 0-4, But man, they play so good against such good teams, and they just end up not getting the win.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I should maybe we'll see if they go 0-5, 0-6. We'll see if we drop them down a lot further. But like I gotta give them some love right now. Raiders are just the most mid bad team ever. I guess badly mid, like mid bad or whatever. And then finally, you kind of see the team that I'm getting a little bit more hope in is Tennessee Titans. I think I like Tennessee Titans. Obviously, I live in Tennessee, but I'm always hesitant because they show off really good, then really bad, then really good, then really bad, then really good, then really bad. And I need to see 2 games in a row of something. And hopefully it's this week they give me something good in 2 games in a row. But they're the ones kind of headlining the bottom of the next tier for me in that regard. And I'll kind of transition that way we can kind of bounce back and forth into the third column. You talked about the Saints going down. The Saints obviously started off 2-0. Now they're 2-2. They're just showing that they're kind of a crumbling team. If they can't find consistent. They're trying to be consistent, but they were consistent in the beginning. Now they're not as consistent. Similar to the Falcons, but the Falcons and Saints played. I give the Falcons the edge just due to their overall better defense and run game. The Rams are an up and moving team. The Commanders and Rams are teams that I like in that area. I honestly debated about the Rams going over the Commanders, but I think the Rams still, I want to see a little bit more. I just want a little bit more. It's been week 4. I want to see week 5, week 6 until I give them a big push up, but they're moving up fast and they're looking good. And it's mostly their defense that's keeping them back for me. As for it's kind of the opposite for the Commanders. Their offense is really keeping back for me. Their defense is whatever. It's consistently mediocre, but their offense is not consistent, and I want to see more of that. I think they're a better team than people give them credit for, but just not good enough to be up in that upper echelon. They're going to consistently stay in this little range. The Steelers, I don't know what's going on anymore. I usually have hope in the coaching scheme there, but Texans really put them in their places last week. The Packers and Jets, I really debated on. I honestly wouldn't hate who you have above Jets or Packers. I'm giving the Jets some credit because I really do believe Zach Wilson and the Jets deserved that win against Chiefs this week, and they played really good football. While the Packers are kind of in that they played really good in the start of the season. Now they're kind of in that bottom below average tier for me in terms of their play style. And the Browns, they got destroyed, but there's so many bad teams above them. And there's so many bad teams below them that I'm just kind of decided to keep them where they are for now because it was a divisional opponent against one of the best teams. Take that as you will. As a quick kind of transition before we get into yours, the Browns are actually a big mover, and they moved up +6 since the start of the season. The Rams have moved up +5. The Panthers have gone down -5, and the Broncos have moved -5 as well. So some big movers in the bottom half there. But Shu, what's your third column looking like, and how much was it agreeing?
I'm just gonna. I don't think we really have. I don't think we have anywhere that really agrees necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But mine again is also from my last week to this week, so we have a lot of the same movement still, just different rankings at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But to start out, I mean, I dropped the Falcons 3 this week. You dropped them 2. We agreed last week they were 21. I just have them at 24 now.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't really shown to me that they're showing me that they might need to go to that 4th column if they don't improve a little bit. So I have them down there. Above that, I mean, I had the Packers at 22 last week. So I've had them below you. They're down to 23 now. I mean, and if you've been watching these videos with me using mine, at least from the last video, I'm kind of agreeing and disagreeing with Dawson, I think, in the first one. I think, what are we in now? We're going to week 5?
Yeah, this is the week 5 power rankings.
I think I started this week 2, maybe week 3.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyway, I mean, just the way that I do it is if I see a team that loses and they're in that top column and they lose a team in that far right column, you're getting dropped and you're getting raised because you just proved to me that you can beat a team like that. Whether that team had an off week and they're going to go back up, I mean, I'm very sporadic with my movement. Usually, I mean, it's kind of slowed down a little bit. I did tell Dawson before this, there's one team that really jumped up for me, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So I was at the Packers. Next, I have the Commanders at 22. I did have them at 25, though.
Mm-hmm.
So you jumped them up 23 to 21. I went from 25 to 22. So a little bit, I think, so it's a +3 jump versus a +2. No. Yeah, you had them at...
+2, yeah.
Yeah, you had them at 20. So And then I go up to the Rams. They were at 20 last week. They dropped down to 21. I did drop them. I don't remember who they played off the top of my head right now.
Oh my gosh, why is it killing me on the top of my head? Jets. I want it. Not Jets. It's gonna kill me. Hold up. It's 29-23. I know the score. It went to overtime.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, load quickly. Colts. It was the Colts. 29-23.
Okay, yeah. So the Colts sitting at my 27 mark. You beat a team that, or you did they lose? No,
they won.
Who?
The Rams won.
They won, but the Rams won, but I did drop them a little bit because the Colts are in that bottom. It was that close game. Let them take it to overtime. You lost a tier in my mind. You lost a little spot. Not a big deal for the Rams. Then I go to the Browns, 19-20. So yeah, they're sitting at 20. It was a drop. They dropped 1. Steelers dropped 3 from 16 and 19. I have the Patriots dropping 3 this week. You dropped them 1, and we had them equal last week. That loss again, and I said it, I believe, in the last video. The Cowboys are a great team. Their defense is elite this year, but the Patriots just lost Judon, I think, for the season because he's undergoing bicep surgery, and Gonzalez is out. He'll miss some time. He hurt his shoulder. As a Patriots fan, I was yelling that it was a dirty play. Probably wasn't. They were fighting for the ball. It looked to me like the receiver pulled his arm and he landed directly on his shoulder. He got hurt. I was pissed. He's my rookie. It is what it is. But he will miss some time. Judon's out, and Mac is mid. So they drop down to that 18 spot. I really don't see me bouncing them out of that 3rd, maybe up to that 16 spot, maybe back up in there. But at this moment, I think they're that lower half of the league, especially missing 2 of their, in my opinion, big guys on defense, and having Mac under center. Bailey zapping him, and he didn't do much better. So they really don't have a quarterback at this point that I can trust. And then Giants at 17, they didn't move for me. They stayed at they were at 17 last week. They stayed at 17. So I guess that is a similarity. Our 17s did not move. And then if you don't, I'm just going to bounce up into that next column, keep the ball rolling. I don't know if you noticed, but one of your teams is still missing from my rankings, Dawson. I haven't mentioned them. No, the Jets were mentioned. No, yeah, the Jets were not mentioned. They're at 16 though, so they're my next one. They jumped up 2.
Who y'all see? Tennessee Titans.
The Bengals are my next one. The Bengals just got blown out by the Tennessee Titans. They dropped 7 spots. They were in my 8th spot. They were a first column team. They're down to that 15 spot. And now the Tennessee Titans land a +10. They were 24th last week. They went up. They showed out. It's hard for me to look at. It's hard for me to say the Bengals could not beat the Titans if they play again later in the season. But at this moment, the Titans just outwardly whooped the Bengals. I put them above them. Only 1 spot. When I was just writing it out, I saw a +10. I was like, that's huge. But the only way I can defend it is they just showed up and whooped the Bengals. I got to give them a little bit of props this week. I couldn't drop the Bengals down into that 3rd level because that'd be just a ridiculous drop-off. So I had to kind of meet in the middle somewhere. The Titans got a lucky +10 with the Bengals just dropping down that 7. Maybe next week the Titans go back to being that team that isn't really there, and they drop back down to that 3rd column. But at this point, they are my 14th team in the league. Does that mean much at the end of the year? No. But Titans fans, if you're watching, I boosted your boys this week. Jumping up to the Buccaneers. They got a +1. They were 14 last week. They're at 13. Going to the Vikings at 12. They were 12. Seahawks were at 13. They're now at 11. Got a +2. The Jags were 11. They went to 10. And the Cowboys were at 10. They went to 9. The reason I didn't give the Cowboys that big jump is, again, they were playing Mac Jones and the Patriots. And the Patriots defense pretty much shut them down. The Patriots defense, out of the 31 points that the Patriots gave up, the defense gave up 10. There was I think it was 2 pick sixes and a fumble recovery and a scoop and score.
Mm.
That's on the offense. I can't fault the defense for that, and I can't give credit to the Cowboys offense for those points. So yeah, that is my 9 through 16. Just run it back again. I guess I'll start 9 to 16. I got the Cowboys 9, Jags 10, Seahawks 11, Vikings 12, Bucks 13, Titans 14, Bengals 15, and Jets at 16.
Before I make my comments on that, the plus 10 for the Titans does feel extreme. I will say. I'll critique it in that regard. I don't think it's Okay, I do think it's kind of outrageous. Never mind, but I respect it. I respect it because I think the Tennessee Titans can play in that second column level, but I also think they can play to that fourth column level. So it makes them maybe in the arguable third column range, which I think they kind of could deserve a third column range for me. I'm more of a conservative mover. I kind of consistently move people. Unless there's something like the Bengals that happens, or something like the Cowboys blowing out the Giants or stuff like that. So that's my one critique there. Otherwise, it seemed like maybe a couple spots we disagree. Like, Seahawks at 11 we both agree on, but like you didn't mention the Lions, which arguably a top 8 team. Not gonna disagree with you much there. Bucks were at 13 for you, I believe you said, so similar there. Vikings were at 12. Like, you can disagree a little bit. I did have one conversation before I moved to my second spot about the Giants, Patriots, Browns, Jets, Packers, and Steelers. So those 6 teams are very similar to me. Like, those 6 teams feel like almost could be interchangeable at this point. Because I really struggled with these 6 teams. I did kind of end up sorting them to Giants, Patriots, Browns, and then Jets, Packers, Steelers. And I want your kind of critique on those 6 teams particularly, because I think those are all teams that seem like they're potential wild cards in the way that they can play well to get in top 14, but they're also potentially not good teams because they just don't do well a lot of times. And this week, all 6 of them showed up pretty badly in one way or the other, with the exception being the Jets there, who actually played decently well, but have in past played really poorly. What are your kind of thoughts about those 6 teams? I don't know exactly where you had them interchangeably, but I think they're similar enough teams we can talk about them.
They're right in that same level as you. I mean, the only separation is I have the Packers down at 23.
Gotcha.
Then at 20, I start with the Browns. Then I go to the Steelers, then the Patriots, then the Giants, and the Jets. So we still have them all in that kind of second to third column range.
Mm-hmm.
Low second, high third. With, again, regards of the Packers, but they were already at my 22. So they were already that lower half third column for me.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you said, they all showed up in one way or another. As a Patriots fan, the Patriots are on the downward spiral. This could stem from our head coach also being our general manager. Because Bill Belichick not only coaches the team on the field, but he's the one making the trades. So the team that he wants on the field is the team that he's going to have on the field. He has faith in Mac Jones. A lot of Pats Nation does not have faith in Mac Jones. So, I gotta, like I was saying before, I don't think they're really going to move anywhere outside of that third to maybe a low second column for me all year. Unless they make some big trade at some point, it's just not going to happen. The Jets, another team, another AFC East team. It's supposed to be a tough division. That was coming into the season. Aaron Rodgers goes down on the first drive. You got Zach Wilson back out there. Zach Wilson is still kind of in that mid quarterback range to me. He's not a terrible quarterback by any means. I mean, he can show up when he needs to, but it's still Zach Wilson. He's still very young. He needs to grow into the offense, and maybe I need to see more confidence out of him, more animation. I know there was a video that I saw of Zach Wilson sitting on the bench on the Jets sideline, stiff stone, not moving at all, not moving a muscle. And a lot of people were making jokes, like it looks like a kid whose parent told him not to get off the bench and not move. That's almost a perfect definition of Zach Wilson to me at this point. So I mean, he is still trying to learn the league. Even is this his second year?
Third year.
Second year, third year now.
Mm-hmm.
Third year in the league.
Believe.
He's still trying to understand what's going on in the NFL to me, and not a good look. They tried to go under Rodgers. I think they're going to try and do something similar this next offseason. As far as the Giants, I haven't really paid attention to the Giants. I don't hold stock in Daniel Jones at all. And that's just blunt, the honest truth. Moving down to the Steelers, Kenny Pickett's out. I believe, yeah, Kenny Pickett's out. You got Trubisky. Trubisky, again, not a terrible quarterback, a very mid quarterback. You're not. I mean, you lost Kenny Pickett, who was a arguably higher end young guy. You're stuck with Trubisky. The Browns. You got Deshaun Watson. Great. I haven't seen enough out of him. And then down to the Packers. I just really don't know what to think of the Packers at this point. Jordan Love seems great for the Packers. But I need to see more of a team cohesion. And moving forward, I think that a year or two down the road, I think the Packers could be competitive. But at this point, Jordan Love to me is basically he's still in his rookie year. Not literally, but he was behind Rodgers. Mm-hmm. He got a few snaps. He played some preseason games, but Rodgers was the main guy in Green Bay. He's coming out now. He's leading the offense. He's leading the team. I think it's going to take him a little bit to get into a groove and get to know his receivers as well as the other quarterbacks around. I think the Packers have a chance to move up in the coming seasons, and I hope we continue to do this because it will keep us connected when I graduate and move out of this podunk town we live in. And you, I guess, are still here because you work with the university. But we keep doing that. I'm hoping I see the Packers in that top 10 range within a couple of years with Jordan Love at quarterback.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of some similar thoughts there. Kind of delving into the second list for me. So Steelers obviously of those 6 teams are kind of the worst for me. Kenny Pickett's it seems only going to be out for a couple weeks from it looks like from a bone bruise. It looks like. Either way, I don't think he's going to be the game changer for this offense in this season. The Packers, there's so much potential there, but there's still so much of a learning curve for Jordan Love that we knew it was going to take more than one season to really get everything out of him. The Jets, I think, are doing better than I think a lot of people expected, especially with Zach Wilson maybe showing a little bit more potential, especially against a good Chiefs team. Then you got the Browns, who feel like a very big mosh posh of a bunch of different good and bad. Of course, Deshaun Watson has not been meeting up to standards. Of course, he didn't play this last week as the backup because I think he refused to play through an injury, which, I mean, good for him. Honestly, good for him in that regard. No one should have to play through an injury. But the Browns on defense are really good, but the Browns offense is kind of getting weaker and weaker with more injuries piling up, especially the loss of their run game because they really couldn't replace Nick Chubb with even 3 mid-tier running backs, if not lower mid-tier. You got the Patriots, and I really just think the Patriots just have harder games, and I think the reason why they're ranked so high for me and why I still consider them high regards, even though they got blown out pretty much 38-3, is that they still compete with each of the teams they play, and it didn't feel like a blowout when the Patriots faced off against the Cowboys last week. It obviously was. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but their defense, again, like you said, I mean, obviously the offense for the Cowboys didn't have to do much, but I mean, they still didn't do a whole lot. And I still kind of think their coaching scheme naturally plays up to their opponent. Then you go to the Giants, who I think I'm not yet ready to give up on the Giants completely. I'm really not. Honestly, I should because they don't score anything. Daniel Jones looks like crap. Their run game's nothing without Saquon. Their defense is mid at best. And honestly, I should have no problems ranking this team low. But like last year, they proved something with their coaching scheme to actually bring up a mid-tier team to something potentially good. This year, they're not showing that. But I'm still giving them that upper half tier because until they show a more and more drastic, consistent bad play, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. Moving up to the 14th spot, which is now getting to the playoff teams pretty much, the Vikings, -2. I really debated about whether I should move them or not, but the teams around them play so they're playing against some like the top 14 and 9 teams are good. We're getting to the teams that are now like actually playing consistently good, and the Vikings don't do that. They consistently play good on offense. They're consistently great offense, which they didn't do this last week against a team they should arguably have beaten away easier than they did, the Panthers, who are potentially a good team, but they just don't show it either. And that's why I gave them the -2. I didn't give them above the Bengals because the Bengals already dropped off -5. That was a big hit for them anyway. I decided -5 was enough punishment. The Vikings were already going down. They didn't go down nearly enough or nearly as much as the Bengals, but I stopped the Bengals at -5 at 13. I finally have given the Bengals enough leeway. If they played well, I wouldn't give them this big of a hit, but they're not playing well. Even in their wins, they don't play well. No one on that team has played well except for I can't even think of anybody. Joe Mixon's kind of played all right. Joe Burrow has not played well. T. Higgins had one good game, but now is injured. Jamar Chase is consistently getting back in the game a little bit more, but still not Jamar Chase we knew. The Bengals, I gave them their 4-game grace period. I did. None of those games have looked good for them, even in their one win, which they're lucky to even have gotten that at this point, looking back at it. And if they don't fix something soon, they're going to keep on going down and down. Now, I will say they'll probably get a little leeway in the 13 to 14 range because I don't see them going down to the Giants even after a decent loss. But they're now at the bottom tier of all these other teams. The other teams have risen up so much because I think 8 through 12, I believe, all won. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Chargers, I believe, won. Jaguars won. The Lions won. Seahawks won. Bucks won. So all those teams won, and they look good. Am I correct in saying that? And they all look good. That's number one. And the Bengals lost, and they didn't look good. I mean, it's quite frankly to the point. It's now a competitive game. The Bucks. I listen. I know people were crapping on me for the 14th placement at the beginning of the year. Dude, like they're proving that maybe they actually deserve that 14th placement. I didn't think they would. I thought they were going to be a drop off, but they have moved up now 2 spots since the very beginning of the season, and they're still like in that echelon of fringe top 10 team, because I think they're a team that can beat pretty much any team in the third and fourth column easy. They don't lose bad games. They don't lose games they shouldn't lose, but they don't win games they're supposed to lose either. So they're just in that fringe area where they can't really compete against good teams, like really great teams. They probably couldn't beat 1 through 7, maybe 1 through 8. They maybe have a shot with 9 through 11, and then 14 through 16, obviously. Beside the point, Seahawks have looked good. They actually came back up to the original placement of 11, so that's really cool. The Lions are looking really good. They're a top 10 team at this point. I think they just have looked consistently good. Jared Goff has been consistent. The defense has been overperforming. And we go up to the Jags, who have been more disappointing, but I think still show enough flashes and win and have the games they should have to some extent and keep games competitive, except for the Texans game. Texans game. So they still are more of a fringe top 10 team, but they good. They won against the Falcons in London. They're basically hometown. And then kind of just transitioning to the top 8 finally. The Chargers at 8. +1 for them. Of course, they did well, too. They played against the Raiders 24-17. They won a game they're supposed to. Congratulations. The Dolphins, I'm going to stand by it that the Dolphins are not a fluke. I think a lot of people are overreacting to them getting 48-20, which is it's a good win. It's a good win for the Bills. It's a bad loss for the Dolphins. It's a wake-up call for the Dolphins. I think they realize they have to be a not one-dimensional team. And they deserve a -1, but I don't think that takes them out of contention for a top team. I definitely don't agree with Trayson that they should have been number 1 on this power rankings at all, even at one point or another. They have to prove that they're not just a explosive offense, because that explosive offense is eventually going to explode in your face. The Ravens have proven that they're just consistently really good. Now, this is where the 6 through 8 tier, or 6 through 7 tier maybe, 6 and 7 kind of feel like in their own tier, 8 through 10 to 11-ish feels like their own tier, 12 through 14 kind of in their own tier. Now, top 5 are a whole other echelon at this point. I'm going to say this right now. 4 and 5 are in like the sub points, and then 1 through 3 are starting to get into the stratosphere for me. The Chiefs, I still believe in the Chiefs. They still play good. This last game did not prove that, so they're kind of lowered down into that top 5 tier. The Cowboys, again, they lost a game they shouldn't have last week. They came back and showed they are still the Cowboys. You can't just count them out. So that I still think they're easily a top 5 team with their defense being that top 5 team, really essentially. And now we're getting to where the Bills have risen up so much for me. They are getting the closest team that can be to the 49ers and the Eagles right now. And the Bills are consistently playing well. They obviously had a slower start, but if they keep that up, they're going to be able to be up in that echelon of 49ers and Eagles. Eagles haven't lost a game. They look consistently good. They win games they're supposed to. The one critique I have is they make the games a lot closer than they should. So hopefully that lessens their stock a little bit to near the Bills level, but and then in a whole other category of its own, I think the 49ers are easily the best team in the NFL right now. I don't honestly, if they depending on the game, if they lose against the Cowboys, I probably still wouldn't move the 49ers down from 1 to 2 yet. I think that a lot depends on how bad the loss is, of course, but like the 49ers at this point have gotten so far ahead of 2, I think. It's just they're in a whole nother level. And I know that any team can beat any team, but the 49ers are just looking like something special. Brock Purdy has been cooking. He's 12-0 in games he started and finished. I did not know that. Like he just set a 49ers franchise record of the best completion percentage for a 20+ pass game. And CMC got 4 touchdowns this last game. And I know I've ranted a lot about the first and second columns, and so I'll leave the floor to you here in a minute, Shu. But like, dude, the 49ers, honestly, for all intents and purposes, should be the easy Super Bowl favorites this year. And unfortunately, they're not going to win it. And it's just, unfortunately, it's always what happens. The top team that should win the freaking Super Bowl is not going to win it. And we'll see how the rest of the season plays out and how the playoffs stack up to be. But the 49ers should be the number 1 seed this year easily, even over the Eagles.
Yeah, before I even get into it, just an interesting kind of notice from me, I guess. Your top 2 teams are actually both NFC teams.
Yeah.
So I kind of just went down my list because after you said the top 14 teams should be your playoff teams, I was kind of looking. I'm like, I'm interested to see if mine shakes out that way, and mine does exactly shake out that way.
Interesting.
But I'll just, I'm gonna drop.
Mine does too.
Back into that 14. I'm gonna drop back into that 14 through, and I'm just gonna go through it. So I have as the AFC 7th spot, I have the Titans. As the NFC 7th spot, I have the Bucks. Then I go up to the Vikings for that 6th spot, and then the Seahawks for that 5th spot, both in the NFC. And then I jump up to the 6th spot with the Jags in the AFC. Then I go to the 4th spot with the Cowboys in the NFC. Chargers are coming in as my 5th spot, AFC, and that's my 8th. So now this is my 8 through 10. 7 is the Chiefs, so they'd be the 4th spot in the AFC. Ravens are my 6th. They're going to come in that 3rd spot in the AFC. And then I have the Lions at 5th with that 3rd spot in the NFC. Eagles at 4th with my 2nd spot in the NFC. The Dolphins are at 3rd with my 2nd spot in the AFC. And then I actually do not have the 49ers as the number 1 seed anymore.
Wow.
There's the number 1 spot. They're still the number 1 seed. They would be the number 1 seed in the NFC. But I have the Bills above them. And it's just for the fact that I'm still looking at the Cardinals, and they're still a 4th column team. And yes, you beat them 36-15 or 35-16, something like that. But, congratulations. You played a team that's one of the worst in the league, and you beat them. You should beat them. When you're looking at a Bills-Dolphins game, those are 2 top-level teams in this league. And the Bills beat them 48-20. They beat them by 28 points. Now, is that because the Dolphins came in riding high off of 70 points? Great. You could argue that. But I'm still looking at the Dolphins as a top 10 team. And you double their score. You put up 48 on the Dolphins. Could it switch around? Yes, I guess. But I think that was my toughest spot, were the 1 and 2 this entire week. Besides obviously the Titans jumping up for me, which I'm sure they'll drop back down. This is their 1 week of praise for beating the Bengals, who haven't even looked good this year. But I just couldn't, in good conscience, keep the Bengals above a team they just got they got their butts kicked this week. You just don't deserve to be above the team that did that to you. Unless it's like, now, like you were kind of mentioning, if let's say there's a miracle, and the Bears somehow beat the 49ers, and they beat them just like the Titans beat the Bengals. Am I going to drop the 49ers down to the middle? No. They're still going to be a top 10 team. They had a bad week, and the Bears took advantage of it, which could have been the same thing as the Bengals. But the Bengals have had, what, 3 bad weeks this year? I believe they're 1-3, if I'm not mistaken.
They are.
They've had, I mean, you have 3 bad weeks this year. I mean, who have they lost to? I'm trying to remember now.
It's been 3 divisional games.
Obviously, they lost to the Titans. You got that one. They beat the Rams. Great. They lose to the Ravens and they lose to the Browns.
Yep.
So, I mean, just looking through, you've lost to 2 teams that are below you in the standings at this point. I mean, according to yours.
Yeah.
You just don't. That doesn't make sense to me.
Should be noted.
So I had to give.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to just note real quickly. Even in Joe Burrow's win, he threw 26 out of 49 passes for 1 interception, no touchdowns. It was Joe Mixon who got the most of the work that game.
So I mean,
defense also played really well.
I got to start dropping the Bengals more heavy, and I'm gonna give some praise to the teams that beat them. I mean, they got the Cardinals coming up. If they lose to the Cardinals, Bengals fans, you're in the 4th column. You are a 4th column team at that point. You can't be in the top 3 anymore. I mean, the Cardinals will probably bump up to that 24 spot. The Bengals are going to drop down to that 25. And it's going to go from there. I mean, if there's some teams that are above that spot or below, however it would end up working, or I guess if like the Rams get blown out, they might take that 25 spot. And the Bengals might be at 24. But, I don't know. It's just, you can't be consistently losing. And Joe Burrow needs to wake up. I mean, they say it's Joe Burr. Yeah, he's cold. He's cold at this point. It's not Joe Shiesty. It is Joe Burr. He's got to warm himself up. He's got to wake up. I know he's hurt, but Bengals maybe give him a break. He's not helping you win. You're leaving him in games where you're getting blown out by the Titans. Bench him for a week. Give the backup a run against the Cardinals. And let him rest. Let him relax. Let him recuperate. Maybe he'll get over a little bit more of this injury. He'll come back stronger in week 6. But I just don't know where to go. I mean, you can't lose the Cardinals this week. If they do, I don't know what I'm even going to say. And just if you haven't watched the prediction videos, spoiler alert, I picked the Cardinals this week. I said the Cardinals would beat the Bengals this week because I don't have faith in the Bengals anymore. I think I'm going to go back to last week's prediction. Nope, that's too far back. There you go. Last week I picked the Bengals to beat the Titans. And they couldn't do it. The only reason I'm still picking the Patriots every week is because I'm a Patriots fan. And I have that loyalty, and that's where it's going to stay. If the Patriots could go 0-16 one year, I'm going to go 0-16 with them on their picks. It's just how I am. I can't pick against my own team, no matter how big, small the odds are. I proved it last week when I picked them against the Cowboys. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know where to go from there.
Well,
it's
I was gonna say something about the Bengals there. They have Jake Browning behind them, which is who I don't even know who that is. But the whole comment I have for them is that they are 1-3 currently. It doesn't matter what okay. No matter at this point who let's say that Joe Burrow. There's two different worlds right now. Joe Burrow right now who's played the first 4 weeks, and then there's a world where Jake Browning played the first 4 weeks, right? No matter what the scores of those games were, it doesn't matter the performance of those games. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, 1-3 is what matters for the first 4 games, like the record. Would Jake Browning have done worse? Would he have gone 0-4? I'm not gonna say he wouldn't have. I'm not gonna say he wouldn't have done 0-4, but like, you gotta think he could have at least gotten one win, and done the same as Joe Burrow has, and now you have at least potentially a healthy quarterback after the first 4 weeks of resting. And who knows, if you rest him for the first 2 weeks, maybe he was back by week 3 anyway, or week 4. Who knows? But it was a stupid remark from the Bengals after I think Joe Burrow did get like firstly kind of injured, quote unquote, in the preseason, I believe, and they just said,
Yep. It was in practice.
And
it was in practice that he went down.
And I don't know if it's just Joe Burrow maybe being stubborn. Maybe it's Zach Taylor being stubborn. Who knows? But the Bengals kind of shot themselves in the foot this year for that. And I'm not saying they're not going to come back and be a 9-8, 10-17 because it's technically possible. I mean, they can technically do that. But they got to change something up quick, and they better get the wins they need. They can win now because they got some tough schedule. Like, they're not an easy division. Say what you will about the Steelers, Browns, but they're still competitive teams in their own aspects. And they're not going to hold back. And the Bengals got to figure out something. Beside the point, we talked about the Bengals a lot. I think the top 8-ish teams are pretty solid in the regards of things. I'll be kind of excited. Actually, there's not really that many fun games aside from like the Cardinals-Bengals game that has a lot of implications. The rest of the games are kind of either one-sided or obvious in a way. Vikings-Chiefs is kind of fun, but like this week feels like a very like a low-key week where I don't see the power rankings changing a whole lot for this upcoming week. I'll be kind of curious because I do my quarterly review of all these teams, and that's going to be coming for the next couple weeks. But this is kind of a nice little State of the Union address for the first quarter of the season so far about how it goes. Whoops, boop. There you go. Discord. So, this is the first kind of placing for them. Some comments I'll make as well is that the biggest mover of the season so far are Bengals -9 for me. So the original season they were like, really up there. Now they're at 13. So they were at 4, I believe. Now they're at 13. The second biggest mover is the Giants at -7. They originally were at 8. Now they're at 15. And then the biggest up and mover is the Dolphins from, I think, +6, so 13-7. So those are kind of the biggest movers of the season so far. I think they're all deserved in their own rights. We'll see how the rest of this next quarter goes, basically through the halfway point of the season. Lots of bye weeks, a lot of weird weeks, because bye weeks are kind of weird because they don't consistently do like 5, 6, 7, 8, like skip 9 or something, like skip 10 or something, or some kind of week in the middle. So we'll see how all those go. But that's pretty much all my comments for power rankings and the teams of the season so far. Any other comments from you, Shu?
I was just gonna add, where did you start the Bengals, and what did they look like? Was week 3 to 4, 4,
so
5.
Let's see.
So I started. My first prediction would have been going into week 3. So where were the Bengals sitting for you? Wait, nope, never mind. Here it is.
Let's say I didn't pull the video.
I have a drop. So you started. Did you start him at 8 in week 1?
I started him at 4. You started him at. They were at 8 in week 3. Week 3 they were 8. Week 4 they were 8.
So you started him at 4, then dropped him down to 8, and after week 1. So going to week 2, you had him at 8.
I think week 2. Let's find week 2 real quick. That's one I couldn't find. Here we go. They were at 7.
I just have written 8.
They were at 7. They were at 4, 7, 8, 8, 13.
Okay, so that means after week 1, I must have made my first one or something because I have no change next, and I had them going 8-8, and going into week 3. So I guess I technically going to week 2 started. We'll just say week 3 I had them at 8, and then they stayed at 8. So I realized I've only dropped them 7.
Yeah.
From where I started them, you dropped them 9. I guess overall from your week. I guess overall I've dropped them 8 spots. Because if we're going off of you starting them at 7, we'll just say I started them at 7 because that's when I started kind of doing this along with you. I've dropped them 8, you dropped them 9.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're not too. It's not too big of a difference at the end of the. I mean, it sounds huge when I say I dropped them 7 in 1 week.
Yeah.
But I basically caught up with you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so I don't remember where you had them ranked this week. Now, looking at it, but I think you had
13.
maybe in that 12,
13.
13 spot. See, I only have them 2 spots behind you.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we originally said, I was like, yeah, I dropped them 7. That sounds insane.
Mm-hmm.
But I just caught back up with what was reality. I guess I was in La La Land last week, still thinking they were a top 8 team. And then I said, well, I got to change my tune, drop them down. But yeah, like we said, my big move is that Titans move. But that was just because I can't keep the Titans down in that. I guess I couldn't keep the Titans down in that 3rd column after beating a team that I had in the 1st column. And once they got up to that 16 spot and the Bengals dropped to that 15, who am I to say that the Titans aren't as good as the Bengals when they just proved that they were?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was the Bengals were actually sitting at 14, and I had the Titans at 16, and the Jets were sitting at 15. I was like, you know what? No, I don't know what I did, but you know,
yeah.
Now you know that the Titans got that jump on the Bengals, and they sit pretty right now. To me, they are a playoff team right now, which is not right. Sorry, Titans fans. you can call yourself a playoff team and choose mine this week. Next week, even with a win, you might drop a little bit, but I don't even know who the Titans are playing coming up.
You know, the Titans are
Colts.
playing Colts.
So yeah, so even with a win this week, you might drop out of my mental playoff contention because the Colts are the 27th ranked team. Pitiful. It's a close game. You're dropping down a little bit. Just hope the Bengals keep in their losing ways so you can stay above them, I guess.
You know, a curious conversation that we'll have next week, I'm sure, is how the bye weeks kind of factor into some of these changes. Because obviously, so this week, we should have mentioned it probably in the predictions video, but the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers are on their bye week. And so, naturally, we're going to have teams around them do really well or really bad. But obviously, these 4 teams are not really, our opinion doesn't change to them. So, like, how are we gonna kind of maneuver around that? Obviously, like, what if somebody does so good they go above them and no one goes below them, so they end up going -1 on a bye week?
That is 100% a possibility. I mean, the way I do, I know you do I'm not sure how you do your whole thing if you move them just up and down that little list you have, but mine's on tier maker.
Yeah, I do that.
So when I move them, it moves everyone else up and down anyway. So some of these moves I'm not physically making. That Titans jump. There's a reason the Patriots dropped 2 out of their 3 spots. They only technically dropped 1. But the Jets jumped 2, which dropped the Patriots 1. The Titans jumped 10, which dropped the Patriots 1 more. I didn't move. We're not moving teams down that 3 and being like, yo, you lost 3 spots because no, you lost 1 spot because of the way you played. You lost 2 spots because of the people around you.
Yeah.
So those teams, like you said, they got a bye week this week. They could go up, they could go down. Did you say the Bucks were one of the teams with a bye week?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. So I have Mike Evans on fantasy. If the Vikings lose, the Bucks may jump up 1 spot. Just because the Vikings drop down 1 spot, or 2 spots, or 3 spots. If the Titans go out and I just looked it up and I already forgot.
Colts.
If the Titans go out and beat the Colts and they beat them handily, Bucks, you're dropping down 1 spot. Because the Titans just beat the Colts. Now that's a bad, better reference. The Jets. Who are the Jets playing?
Good question. The Broncos.
That doesn't help me either. One of these teams that isn't playing one of the you know, terrible teams. They do really well. You know what? I'll say Bengals. Nope, they're playing the Cardinals. Jesus. Whatever. I'm done trying to rationalize this. It is late. You got work in the morning.
Yeah.
My teachers just all canceled class, so they decided fall breaks early for us.
Oh yeah.
But at least I hope they did. Otherwise, I'm gonna miss some class tomorrow.
Well, I do get off work Thursday for Thursday, so tomorrow's my last day of work for a few days. So I get to at least enjoy that part. And I don't have much to work on tomorrow anyway, so I'll probably just edit at work. I'm just gonna edit these videos at work. Why not?
You go. You usually do fantasy at work anyways, so.
Yeah, that's what I do. Besides,
Look, I do go to Dawson's office because I am a student
Mhm.
at the university that he just graduated from and now works for, and I am in the building for my classes that he's in. So
oh, I'm a student.
I
there
just
too.
stopped by. I just stopped by and ask him about some fantasy stuff. He asked me about some fantasy stuff. I got 15 minutes to walk down 2 doors, so I walked down a flight of stairs instead. It logically makes sense. Girl math, as some people say. We won't get into that though.
Maybe for a Monday video, maybe I'll just go ahead and do a vlog of my day and just introduce them to Miss Laura and everybody.
That'd be fun. That would be fun.
Exactly. Hey, Rosie.
Jody would love it.
Yeah, Jody
would love it.
Dude, that'd be so fun. I need to get an actual camera rather than just using my phone. Beside the point, I feel like this has been one of the longer power rankings. I don't know how long we've been going actually. How long? 51 minutes in total recording time. So it's actually a longer-ish time. Not one of our longest because we've gone over an hour twice now with all the 4 of us here.
We're trying to make content here.
Exactly.
So and I feel like it went quicker this time because it was just us bouncing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So we can take a little bit more time talking about these picks, like the 6 that you mentioned. We can just kind of talk about it really quick and be like, or talk about it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Then we talked about the Bengals for like 20 minutes. But anyway.
We can do what we want.
Exactly. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and end off this video eventually now. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, share with your friends, and let us know. Click the bell icon with the notification button, and that way you're notified of all of our 5 uploads a week consistently. And thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned for all the rants and all the great content we have on this channel. StraightA Dawson, out.